Evening and welcome to the WDS Shoot News Hot Seat. It is March 20th. Tonight, we are joined by a familiar face, former NOPD lieutenant and security expert, Mike Codd, to talk about a high-profile shooting that happened earlier this morning on famed Bourbon Street. Mike, first off, thanks for being here. Unfortunately, we're talking about another shooting on Bourbon Street. Just to paint the picture for everybody, as they saw earlier in this newscast, a stray bullet shot and killed somebody in a popular bar. Police were quick to make an arrest, taking a woman named Daphne Jackson into custody. But unfortunately, from what we know now, and we just saw the court documents recently, it looked like she was in an altercation with somebody else, pulled out a gun, opened fire, and a stray bullet hit an innocent bystander.
Correct. This is a horrible incident, Travers. This is one of those where it's a very, very crowded area. Two people get into an argument, and it's a very callous situation. No consideration for loss of life. Someone pulls out a weapon, fires it, and it ends up striking someone inside of a bar, right inside of where they were having the altercation.
So I saw the court documents. It's on videotape. They didn't find the gun on her, according to court documents that I just saw recently, but they claim there was videotape, and police feel there's no doubt that it's this woman. How strong of a case, and I know you have a lot of police context, Scott, how strong of a case do they feel like they have at this point?
You have eyewitnesses. You have people that saw her with the gun. You have people that saw her shooting the gun. There are cameras from multitude of locations down there that have her with the gun. So this is an extremely strong case with the situation and for her.
So this happened right at about 3 years ago. It was February 2019. A local nurse and single mother named Julie Cuvion was out with friends walking down Bourbon Street. Two guys got into an altercation, a security guard and another person at Willie's Chicken Shack about a block from where this happened. She was shot in the neck, died at the scene. Last year in December, the suspect in that case, Lewis Barnes, was convicted of one count negligent homicide. But I think that people feel that there are too many guns in the French Quarter or on Bourbon Street, and you have random shootings like this. What can be done from a policing standpoint to stop incidents like this? Random people getting shot by stray bullets, or can anything be done?
No, absolutely. Things can be done. And you hit the nail on the head, Travers, when you talked about something has to be done ahead of time. You need to have proactive policing. You need to have people out there who are looking for the people who are carrying the guns and see if those people are carrying them legally or illegally. You still can't, even with a concealed carry handgun permit, you still can't carry a gun inside of an ABO, an alcohol beverage outlet. So no one really should have guns that's going down there, going into these bars and other places like that. It's something where, again, proactive policing, finding these people with the weapons before something happens and making it a deterrent not to come down there with a weapon is what needs to happen.
What needs to change? Because look, I saw a lot of comments just on our website, on social media. This used to be your beat when you were on the force. Back in the day, there was this sense of, hey, the French Quarter was safe. It was the biggest tourist area, an economic engine for the city when it comes to tourism. But there's just that feeling right now that there's more and more crime and more people bringing guns down to the French Quarter. Is it something from the state standpoint of changing laws to make it where you really face a stiff penalty if you bring a weapon or are accused and convicted of a crime in the French Quarter, which is such a historic neighborhood in New Orleans?
Well, I think it's a multitude of things. Again, I think that it's one of those things where right now there's a general consensus around the country, especially with policing, that if you get arrested for something, especially a misdemeanor, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And that's kind of what's going on. It absolutely needs to be where if you get arrested with a firearm in that area, it should be a felony arrest. And it should be something where it's followed up on, and the police are trained in how to do this, how to go to court, testifying, and making sure that these cases stick. This is an area that all the tourists come to when they come down here, and you can't simply say, well, the shootings that happen in New Orleans are in the outlying areas. It's not going to affect your group or your entity that comes into town.
What does it say to you as somebody who's been involved at all levels of this, that at the state legislature right now, the session's going on, there are Democrats and Republicans alike who have gun bills targeting New Orleans. Mandy Landry, a Democrat from Uptown, wants to essentially make New Orleans different from the rest of its state when it comes to punishment for gun crimes. Brian Fontenot, a Republican from Thibodaux, wants to make mandatory minimums, including jail time, for people who are convicted of crimes of violence in historic neighborhoods like the Marigny, Treme, and the French Quarter. Does it speak volumes that you have people on both sides of the aisle trying to really crack down on gun crimes in the city of New Orleans?
Sure. Everyone's realized with all the carjackings that are going on, all the robberies and everything else, they see video right now. So this is a different time and different age where not only are you hearing about these things, but everyone has video, whether it be a Ring doorbell cam or someone's camera from their house. So you can actually see individuals with guns that are robbing people or carjacking people. And it hits home to everyone in this way. So it's something where, and also with stealing these cars or burglarizing them, they're getting guns from the cars. So there are even more guns going on the street. So for someone carrying a gun illegally, yes, we have to find something that's a harsher punishment or a harsher sentence to try and deter them from carrying guns when they shouldn't.
There's been a big push to hire more police officers, especially by the mayor's office, by the city council. But is this a problem that police can really arrest themselves of? From what I saw in court documents and from talking to a lot of police that I know, cops were like a block away when this happened. This is just somebody who pulled a gun out in a crowded area and opened fire. Can you arrest yourself out of a problem like that? Or does it take punishment on the back end to stop that?
Well, it takes two things. One, the situation that was handled last night was it could not have been more textbook in a good way handled by the New Orleans Police Department. They got the perpetrator, got the gun. They were able to get video, surveillance, and everything else that led to what happened with that crime. They could not have stopped that from happening. It's one of those situations where, again, you have to have legislation that makes it very serious to where people aren't going to want to get caught with a gun. And also, you have to have proactive people out there looking for people who are carrying guns, arresting them and putting them in jail so they don't bring illegal guns down there.
All right. Security expert, Mike Kahn, former NOPD officer, SWAT team commander. We appreciate your insight to this topic. Another tragedy, unfortunately, over the weekend on Bourbon Street. You can read much more about it. An innocent bystander shot and killed by a popular bar after somebody who was in police custody, a woman named Daphne Jackson, opened fire, according to police, trying to shoot somebody else and hit somebody who was just on Bourbon Street. We'll have much more in this story tomorrow morning and all week coming up on WDSU, on our television station, and of course, on our website, WDSU.com. That's all the time that we have for the hot seat. With Mike Kahn, I'm Travers Mackel. Thanks for joining us.